If you're looking for silver linings, today's podcast is not the one. We go over potential red flags among the Patriots rookies here on Patscast. Welcome to Patscast. I'm Brad Whitaker. The Patriots rookie class. We have some potential red flags being raised by no other than Boston Sports Journal's Greg Bedard. And I'm not going to go through the article entirely because it is on BSJ. It is behind a paywall. I am a subscriber. You will need to subscribe to read the full story on what Greg Bedard wrote. I don't want to pull all of his content or anything like that. So we'll just go through a few major bullet points for each of the rookie players among the Patriots, because Greg Bedard has great insight. He has great sources among league executives, and he is able to talk to some of these execs about why their teams did not draft certain players, why, for instance, Javon Baker slipped to the fourth round, why there may be some red flags for some of these players, and why others don't have any red flags. And we'll go through the list and break it down. And look, at the end of the day, there's always red flags for most players, right? I mean, young college players, they like to party. Sometimes they have discipline issues. And then they get into the NFL. They don't have to focus on their studies. They know it's a full-time job. They get a clean slate. And then they're great professionals going forward. We saw this with Christian Barmore, who had some potential red flags when he entered the league. He turned out to be a very strong player for the New England Patriots, strong enough to get a big contract extension, and hopefully that will be the case for most of these players. But we'll start here with Drake May, who of course was drafted third overall in the first round, and there weren't any character concerns or integrity or discipline concerns with Drake May. Really the only red flags with him is we know he needs some time to develop. We know he has some mechanical issues, and in the first couple of weeks of OTAs, he's already made great strides in improving in those areas, but we all know he's a work in progress. Maybe we'll be ready to start week one, but in all likelihood, he will be the backup to Jacoby Brissett, assuming Bailey Zappi is not on the roster once the regular season starts, but will be the backup for at least a few weeks into the season and perhaps his entire rookie season. And another red flag for Drake May, of course, is the decline in his performance in 2023, which was not as good as the previous year. Now, he had a better offensive coordinator, had a better offensive system, had better weapons to work with. So hopefully, he gets to the pros, he gets a little more weapons. I mean, he's in New England, so he doesn't have a ton of weapons, and his offensive line has a lot of question marks. But with Drake May, they're really not character concerns, and we all know he has the traits to potentially be a star quarterback in this league. So really not as concerned about that. Now we get to Jalen Polk, who was their second pick in this year's draft, second round, 37th overall. In terms of play, we know he's not the fastest receiver coming out of this rookie class. Not the best at separating, doesn't have explosive speed. His hands and route running could use some improvement, but he is very much a Jacoby Myers type player, a guy who I think will be able to contribute right away. But one league executive did tell Greg Bedard that there was a red flag. It was unspecified. There were no details on it, so we really don't know what that is with Jalen Polk. He seems like a high character guy. I'm not very concerned about it. It's an anonymous source, as these sources often are, so I'm not going to worry about him a little too much. But then we get to Caden Wallace, who was drafted 68th overall in the third round by the New England Patriots. We all know what's going on with Wallace. Only really started at right tackle because he had a better tackle on the left side at Penn State. Now he's going to have to make that transition in the NFL to the left side of the line. And we know that's a concern, but really when it comes to character, this is where the real concerns start. Greg Bedard said there were some questions about his drive and ultimate love for football, questioned the drive and commitment to football, potentially stemming from a well-educated family background and a sense of entitlement. Not a good sign there, but look, again, we know there's red flags. All of these players are vetted like crazy, and a lot of it doesn't come true. But there's also some concerns about his work ethic. There's concerns about his laziness. And perhaps that translates to the NFL. He was a very good right tackle at Penn State, but that was part of the reason he was a third-round tackle. And certainly he was a right tackle, not a left tackle in college, which is probably a reason he did not get drafted in, say, the second round or late first round and slipped to the third round. But the Patriots obviously drafted him for a reason, and they think he can be moved to the left side, so that's why he's on the roster. Then there's Javon Baker, and the reason I'm doing this podcast is because I briefly mentioned this last week that there were some character concerns with Javon Baker, and I got some comments saying, hey, that's total crap. I don't believe it. If Greg Bedard is talking to league executives about guys like Javon Baker, who many thought was a second-round talent, and he slipped to the fourth round, there's reasons. There's red flags that are raised, and some of that includes character concerns. There were numerous incidents involved at University of Central Florida in terms of reckless driving. He was involved in multiple fights. I guess there were gun incidents. He has a complex family background. He's had various legal troubles and suspensions during his college career. So, look, again, got a clean slate. He's in the NFL now. He's been a real jumping off the page type wide receiver so far in OTAs, has made some spectacular catches, has some speed, has some athleticism, is able to leap in the air, has great hands, great catch radius. We know he has the traits to potentially be a number one wide receiver, a real boundary X, which we know the Patriots have been missing for quite some time. But that's probably the reason Javon Baker was selected in the fourth round and not the second round. And I hate to bring up the Aaron Hernandez stuff because that is not a good comparison. And I think Greg Bedard went a little overboard comparing Javon Baker to Aaron Hernandez on his podcast this past week, which I don't love, but there's a reason Aaron Hernandez was not a first-round talent, right? The Patriots got him in a few rounds later, and he was obviously, when you saw him on the field, he was a first-round talent, clearly. And, you paired him with Gronk, who the only reason he was not, a top 10 talent was because of his injury concerns, and Aaron Hernandez had character concerns. Javon Baker is not Aaron Hernandez. Let's be clear about that. But getting in legal trouble, multiple fights, complex family background, and another reason Javon Baker slipped is I guess his dad's kind of annoying. He's heavily involved in ways that put off a lot of NFL teams. Patriots obviously didn't factor in, or they said, we can deal with this, and hasn't been a concern so far. And the example I gave last week on the podcast was LeVar Ball with LaMelo Ball and Lonzo Ball. He was quite the head case with his sons when they were entering the NBA, but then he just kind of disappeared, right? So maybe that will be the case with Javon Baker, but there are some concerns there. Has some professional behavior issues as well, fired his longtime agent and showed up to rookie minicamp with an entourage, very focused on social media. He apparently can work medical miracles, which I'm not sure is the case, but if that's the case, he probably shouldn't have chosen football. And I guess he also has a perceived sense of entitlement, challenging behavior when influenced by his father. Again, Javon Baker probably would have been a second-round talent if it weren't for some of those red flag concerns. Sixth round, Marcellus Dial, 180th overall, cornerback. No significant red flags mentioned about Marcellus Dial, so we're all good there. Now we move on to Joe Milton, the 6'5" quarterback with the rocket arm, was drafted in the sixth round by the Patriots. Could be a potential backup to Drake May, or if he really pops, he's a potential trade piece going forward where the Patriots could get some real compensation if he looks like he could potentially be an NFL starter, and Drake May is clearly the guy on the Patriots roster. But Joe Milton needs significant development and has concerns regarding his professional approach and maturity. He's known to have partied quite a bit in college. Now, again, college athletes party all the time. When they enter the pros, very often they become true professionals, so hopefully that's not an issue. And we don't know, was he a partier as a freshman? Was he a partier in his last year of college? We just don't really know these full details, but that came out. There's also some concerns about how he handled losing his starting job at the University of Tennessee. There's some age-related maturity concerns. He's 24 years old, and there's still some questions despite his age. And also some questions about his professional dedication, questionable decision to fully committing to the responsibilities of being a professional NFL-level quarterback. So Look, Joe Milton, they hope will be the backup of the future, has very similar traits to Drake May, an even stronger arm than Drake May, not as accurate, might be a little more athletic, actually, maybe even a little bit more mobile because of his size and his speed, but he's a very similar quarterback to May, and if he can become a reliable backup or even a guy who could potentially start in this league and you trade him and you get a bunch in return in the future in year 2 or year 3 of his career, that would be great. But now let's move on to the 7th round draft choice, 213th overall or 231st overall? I'm not sure, but tight end Jaheim Bell. Personality fit, he was described as a diva, selfish, and having party habits similar to Joe Milton, lacks emotional maturity and needs structure, and some disciplinary issues, past juvenile disciplinary issues and immature behavior, and he needs patience and is more of a hands-on, repetition-based learner. Now, Jaheim Bell is interesting because he is a tight end. We know they have Hunter Henry. They brought in Austin Hooper, who can block, who can catch, who can do everything you could ask a tight end to do. But Austin Hooper's only signed for a year. Jaheim Bell hopefully will be able to replace Austin Hooper heading into year 2 of his career. But he has different traits. He played running back a little bit in college, even though he was listed as a tight end. He can be used in a lot of Deebo Samuel-style ways. So hopefully these concerns aren't an issue in the pros because he's the type of player that the Patriots can use, especially in that West Coast offense, in similar ways the 49ers use Deebo Samuel, but he has a lot more size. He's a tight end. He can run with the football, get a lot of yards after catch. We know he can block a little bit. He can catch. He can run downfield. Hopefully not a concern. But again, the disclaimer to all of this. Every one of these players gets a blank slate. They're entering the NFL. They know they're professionals. They don't have to deal with the college atmosphere, the party lifestyle. They know the NFL is very cutthroat. They could be cut at any moment. Hopefully all of these guys pop. I guess the biggest concern, if I had to go through, was Javon Baker. With everything that was listed there, there were a number of teams that would have liked to draft Javon Baker but decided not to, and that's ultimately why he slipped to the 4th round and to the New England Patriots. But look, they don't have Bill Belichick anymore, and we know Bill Belichick, there were some issues in the past as we went over with some of those players, but for the most part, Bill Belichick knew how to crap the whip. He had an iron fist and was able to get the best out of his players. It's a different regime. It's Gerard Mayo. He's more player-friendly. Is he going to be able to play that Belichickian-style role and get these players where they need to be in terms of emotional maturity, in terms of work ethic, in terms of integrity? We will see. Now, Gerard Mayo was that type of player, right, in the NFL. There's a reason he's an NFL head coach. There's a reason he was able to work himself up to the position he is now at such a young age, youngest head coach in the NFL currently. It's because he had a high work ethic. If he can teach what he knows to these players and all these guys, they have a real chance to pop. And let's hope that's the case. Again, this is not a podcast I like to do, but this was an interesting story by Greg Bedard. If you are a subscriber to Boston Sports Journal, I encourage you to read it and dig a little deeper into some of these concerns because Greg Bedard has some of the best sources of all of these Boston sports media reporters. You know, Tom Curran is kind of the go-to for many things, but he is a very regional-based guy, even though he has national connections, whereas Greg Bedard spent a lot of time covering the Green Bay Packers. He knows a lot of these executives around the league. I'm going to take his word when it comes to these red flags and some of these players, but this is what happens. You know, these are star college football players. They're in the NFL for a reason, and we all know the lifestyle of star college football players when they're in that atmosphere, with all the parties, with the fraternities, with everything that goes along with being that type of an athlete. Hopefully, it doesn't translate to the NFL with some of these character concerns with a lot of these guys, but I'm not concerned about Drake May. Obviously not really concerned about Marcellus Dial because nothing was in there, but a lot of these guys probably would have been drafted earlier if it weren't for some of these red flags by NFL teams. But if you know more, if you've been following some of these players like Javon Baker in their college career, like Jaheim Bell, like Joe Milton, let me know in the comments below whether you think these are concerns or if you think they're going to be able to overcome some of those as pros in the NFL. I'm curious to hear from you. But that's it for this episode of Pat's Cast. We just hit 2,000 subscribers on the YouTube channel, so thank you very much. The next goal is 200,000 subscribers, so hoping to get there sometime around next month. So be sure to smash that like button. Be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss a podcast, or subscribe if you're listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. I'm on a business trip this week, but I have a special Tom Brady-themed pre-recorded podcast coming out Wednesday. We all know the June 12th celebration of Tom Brady is coming up very soon, so be sure to check that out on Wednesday this week, and I'll be back Saturday with another edition of Pat's Cast. But I will bring a microphone along with me, so if there's any urgent breaking news, we'll certainly include a podcast sometime this week if that is the case. Otherwise, be sure to check out some of that evergreen content on Tom Brady on Wednesday, and we'll be back Saturday with more Patriots coverage.
In the shadows, casting doubts, yeah, every mistakes, trying to find a way, but the road it quakes. Pat's Cast echo calling from the stands. Rookie stumble, fumble, gotta make this stand. Character concerns blaring loud and fierce. Red flags waving high, cutting through the cheers. Pat's Cast whispering tales of the fight. Gotta rise, gotta prove under stadium lights. Character concerns blaring loud and fierce. Red flags waving high, cutting through the cheers. Pat's Cast whispering tales of the fight. Gotta rise, gotta prove under stadium lights. Pat's Cast shout aloud, don't you fear. Overcome the demons, bring victory here. With grit and heart, the night won't last. Pat's Cast lifted up the rookie class. Every down's a battle, dark clouds loom. Show your colors burst through the gloom. Pat's Cast driving fire, igniting the dream. Soldiers of the gridiron joining in the scream. Eyes of the world watch each fragile step. Questions swirl, but hold your rep. Pat's Cast pound and beat within your soul. Let the fire guide you, reclaim your control. Glory ain't given, it's wrestled and fought. Hard work, courage, all you got. Pat's Cast pound and let the spirit soar. Break those chains, blaze the field score. Glory ain't given, it's wrestled and fought. Hard work, courage, all you got. Pat's Cast howl and let the spirit soar. Break those chains, blaze the field score. Glory ain't given, it's wrestled and fought. Hard work, courage, all you got. Pat's Cast howl and let the spirit soar. Break those chains, blaze the field score. Pat's Cast shout aloud, don't you fear. Overcome the demons, bring victory here. With grit and heart, the night won't last. Pat's Cast lifted up the rookie class. Pat's Cast shout aloud, don't you fear. Overcome the demons, bring victory here. With grit and heart, the night won't last. Pat's Cast lifted up the rookie class.